You have it. What's your Twitter handle? TA. What's your Twitter handle? Is it, what's your Twitter handle? I'm gonna tag you
It's
on it.
Tayamu Denku
TAY.
at Tayamu Denku.
It's not bringing you up. TAI.
Yep. YAMO.
Okay, I
Yep.
forgot the I. There it is.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to Pick Apart the Passion podcast. I'm your host, Tayamu Denku. This is brought to you by Cypher Dem Music, Jab Kai Media. Shout out to my dude, Rambunctious, the creator of Pick Apart the Passion podcast. Tonight, we have an amazing special guest, the fam all the way in Columbus, Ohio, Blueprint. Blueprint, say what's up to the people.
What up? What up? What up? What up? It's good to be here. Good to be here.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're obviously very familiar with podcasts. You got a Super Duty Tough Work.
Yes,
Um,
indeed. Yes,
I've
indeed.
I've tuned into that multiple times. Very informative, very dope. Lots of cool episodes and stuff like that. So yeah, this should be a breeze for you.
I hope so, man. Depending on what you ask me. Depending on what the questions look like. What the questions look like.
so, um, so I'm pretty well familiar with things you have done because I've followed your career. I've done shows with you in the past. We've done music together. So I'm somewhat familiar, but I want to. But the things I'm not familiar about is I want to take it way back. I want to know when and what created the passion for you to be a producer slash MC. How far back does it go? Do you remember the first rhyme, the first time you started producing? Like, I want to go way back and find that.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I never really set out to be like a producer MC at the same time. It just kind of happened. My original passion was production, and I got into production really early. And this is something I don't even talk about. I think I might have talked about it on the podcast a long time ago. But when I was a teenager, I was in a bunch of like R&B groups.
Mm.
So like this was like when Boys II Men and Jodeci and all that stuff was cracking in like the mid early 90s. And it was like all these groups with 4 or 5 dudes and them harmonizing and stuff like that. So like I was in high school and me and my guys, we was like 14, 15. We would get together and we would be harmonizing, you know. Like we would play basketball and then we would just harmonize and like write our songs, and we got little cheap Casio keyboards. And you know, the people around us started seeing that we had an interest towards, so they started kind of helping us. So like my oldest sister, she had a boyfriend, and they were in like college at the time, and they were like, she was like, you should check out what my little brother's doing. And so he kind of became our manager, you know. So we were like a bunch of teenagers, and we had a manager, and he kind of introduced us to studios. So by the time I could drive, before I could even drive, maybe 15, 16, we were going to studios paying, 20, 30, $40 an hour as teenagers. We work our little McDonald's job, and then we would go write our songs. And back then, it wasn't like we didn't have no gear. So we would just go in, and the people in the studio would just work with us, kind of
Hmm.
take
Yeah.
take this melody and play here and then layer this. And this was tracking is like, and on 4 tracks and 8 tracks, and show us how to use drum machines and sequencers. This was as a teenager. So that kind of was the beginning of my passion for production. We had a bunch of demos. I mean, we got signed to this big production company back in like it was before I went to college. But then it was a real ugly situation because they started like treating us bad and stealing our songs and all kind of wild
Mm.
shit. And we was teenagers, man. And like one of the dudes in production company like pulled a gun on me and shit. And I was just like, yo, this is because he saw me as like the
Yeah.
leader of the group, you know what I mean? And he was just trying to like punk me. But I'm like, this dude was like 30 something, and I was like 17, 16.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And and then he stole a bunch of my songs and took credit, and we was young, so we couldn't really do nothing. And so like I was just like, yo, fuck music.
I'm sure a lot of artists have been there at some point.
Yeah. I was like, I never want to fuck with music again. Fuck this, so that was my introduction on the production side. I mean, even prior to, I grew up in a church, so like my mom can really sing, and I played in bands in church. That's how I learned music, by ear, playing in church, and everything. I learned how to play horns and shit like that. But so I got to college, and I was just like, didn't want nothing to do with music. But then it was kind of like a college, like hip hop kind of presented itself to me. When I got to college, it was like I met some dudes, and I saw this dude on campus, and he had these turntables. This white dude from Cali with the super, like, he was like for real, like surfer dude, like, hey, bruh. But this was in like, this was in 1993. He was like, yeah, dude, he was a super tan white dude, long hair, always on campus with some Technic 1200s. And everybody, no one knew what they were. It was like alien technology. And I would just be like, yo, dude, what is this? What are you doing? He's like, yo, I'm DJing, man. He's like, yo, so you should come up to the radio station, And he was like, yo, they paid me to do this, that, and the third. And so he just told me about that. And it kind of, meeting him just prompted me to kind of learn about turntables. And then he graduated, and then he gave me his job at the radio station. And then I had a show on the radio station from like, it was Friday night 10 to 2. I had a mix show. I was playing all like, Company Flow, Natural Resources. This was that era,
Mm.
Fondulum. That's all I would play, all those 12 inches. I still got all those 12 inches to this day. And that led me to records. And then records led me to production.
Mm.
Now, I wasn't even really trying to rhyme then. The only person who in my circle who was rhyming was Inkwell from Greenhouse. Me and him was in the dorms together. So he would just come over. He played football. And then whenever he wasn't practicing, he would just come through and be like, yo, check out this rhyme. And he just, the first guy I knew who actually wrote rhymes. He would sit in a computer lab and write pages and pages of raps, and then come to my room and spit them. And I would just beatbox for him. And that's all we would do. And then eventually I was like, yo, we got to get some gear, man. We got to learn how to make beats. So that kind of led to like, the whole Pause mixtape thing. And then the next year, I think I bought a little drum machine. And then we had like this double deck karaoke machine, recording demos. And then eventually I got a real sampler. We started getting better. And by then I started learning about the Columbus hip hop scene. And then I saw this cat Storm, and he had an MPC 60 in like 1995 or something. And that just changed everything. I was like, this shit I'm doing is bullshit. And I turned and I remember this day. I turned and looked at my crew, and Storm was playing. I said, yo, if we want to be big boys, we got to play with what the big boys is playing with. And everybody was like, yep. And then I just started saving it. That's when I got my first sampler. So I never really set out to be like a producer MC. I would have been more than happy just being a producer of all the Greenhouse and the Weightless shit and the Logic shit and playing that role. But it seemed like that wasn't really once I got started, people started responding to what I was doing on the rhymes really heavily. And so that kind of made me push it and pursue it more. But that's kind of what got me here. And then, I've always been one of those people who whenever I find something that interests me, I go all in. Like I don't really have like this dip a toe in, test it out, see. So like when I got my first sampler, I had it on layaway for like 5 or 6 months, and I got out the pawn shop finally. And back then this was the fall of '96. I got it out right around Thanksgiving. I was supposed to go home for Thanksgiving break for Christmas, and I just called my mom. I was like, I ain't coming home this Thanksgiving. I had like 6 weeks off. That whole 6 weeks, all I did was learn how to make beats.
Mm.
That's all I did. Took all the records that I had collected from the radio station those first few years, learned how to make beats. And all those beats that I made were like the first beats that were on the first Greenhouse record and some of the stuff that's on the Logic record. So
That's what's up, man. I mean, that's a lot of history right there.
yeah, a lot.
When it's crazy when you talked about how you started in an R&B group. That made me think of uh the singing, harmonizing songs on the Adventures of the Counterculture.
Exactly.
So like now that I know this, that makes sense.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, where did that come from? How did he even start singing like this?
Well, because I was like, because when I heard that record, I was like, I liked it a lot, and I was like,
Yeah.
is this something new he's trying? Is it experimental shit? Like, what is this? But then now finding out that you used to do
Yeah.
shit like that, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like, it's almost like second nature to you. Like you know what's up.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's dope. That's dope though. Yeah. I mean, that's fresh. Speaking of Columbus hip hop scene, I feel like at one point in time, that was I don't really know. Is Ohio considered Midwest? I don't really know.
Yeah. They consider us Midwest
Um,
because the East Coast don't want us, so we definitely Midwest.
So at one point in time, I felt like Columbus was like a hip hop hub. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? There was a lot of very dope groups and artists out of there. Like obviously your whole circle, the
Yep.
megahertz circle.
Yep.
And I knew about all them because I was, I fucked with the underground heavy.
Yeah.
So I mean, what was it like? Because you obviously know that it was considered a hub for
Yeah.
hip hop.
Definitely.
So what was it like to be a part of that during that time? I mean, you guys basically you were making a lot of noise. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I mean, it was a special time. Like I think some of us knew how special it was. I definitely knew that just like things like that don't happen very often. Very rarely does a city like Columbus end up with, the number of like national artists from the exact same scene, the exact same circle, to where like where we're almost like we're rivaling some of the output or some of the notoriety of a lot bigger cities and bigger markets. And people are really looking like, wow, Columbus is coming from there. So like, it was a lot of pride. It was a lot of excitement. When I think back to some of those shows at that time, you know, everybody in Columbus was rallying around us because they kind of knew like this is something we finally have something to cheer for. We finally have some people that are not just dope local artists that the whole country, the whole world is looking at. These guys are going out here, and when they're going out here, they're saying, I'm from Columbus. And that just made it hit harder. The talent level in Columbus is something though that like I was always impressed with that. Like some of my earliest memories of hip hop are going to shows in Columbus. So this thing in Columbus called the Hip Hop Expo. It was kind of like our version of the Scribble Jam,
Okay.
but it started before the Scribble Jam. I think the Expo started in like 94 or 95 or some shit. And it was just this 1 year event thrown in this big ass convention center, and everybody in the scene would come. And it was like, be fucking 800,000 people there. And it would be a DJ battle, MC battle, performances. Very Scribble Jam like,
Is that real quick? Not to interrupt. Is that where there was this random footage I saw back when I was watching freestyle battles heavy? Is that where that Jakai Blueprint battle?
Yes. Yep. That was the Columbus Expo battle. Yep.
Okay. I was wondering.
Yep.
I was wondering.
Yeah. And so like, so we kind of had that going, and I would go to those events, and even though I was from there and I was in the scene, I would just be amazed at just like how much talent is there. You go to Bernie's on from Bernie's open mic to any open mic that was there, the dudes who were just rapping were just crazy, and it was so inspiring. So always knew like, man, if something goes on here, this whole thing is gonna crack, you know. And we always looked at Megahertz like, we always felt like Megahertz could be that group
Mm-hmm.
because they were younger, they were starting to be recognized, they were kind of connected a little bit. You know, it wasn't like they were like prior to Def Jux, it wasn't like they was running with, you know, a bunch of dudes from out of there, but they were kind of getting some burn, and we were in places, and we're like, there's some cats. And then we would listen to music like, yo, this is just as good as anything that we're playing, you know, like, and from me playing all that music, when I heard them, I was like, this could be a group who comes from here. And then sure enough, like they end up getting on by Beto, label, and finally put out that 12-inch. And that to me was just, the scene just did that after that. You know, we were around selling tapes and CDs, but they greatly inspired us. And then, you know, Prism and all the spitball shit, and then dudes, it was all kind of at the same time. And Camus, and then as we were bubbling coming up, you know, the Soul Position merger between me and RJD2 and Def Jux, and then the Rhymesters connection, we became like a scene that really kind of fed the whole underground scene as a whole, almost like a feeder system, you know, a feeder city, if you will. And so it was very inspiring. It's good. It was dope to be a part of it, man. And it's crazy to look back on, because like we didn't know. Like when we started, we just was out to just be those guys in our city. That's all we wanted.
Yeah.
We didn't think that it was gonna be this national thing. You know, like when I went to my first shows in Columbus, I looked at guys on stage and I was like, man, you know what? If I just have the local respect they have, I'll be happy with that. That's all we wanted. And then it turned into something bigger than that. And I'm just glad I was a part of it, man. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I still bump music from all artists from there. I'm pretty sure in my ride on you know, my playlist or the rotation, it all stays circulating because I mean, yeah, I listen to new stuff, but I definitely keep the old shit in rotation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um. So yeah. You also write books,
Yes, sir.
and you wrote a book recently that came out, um, the social media cheat code.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so when I first heard about you, this is what makes this crazy to me. When I first heard about you or knew who you were, um, it was actually in my college dorm. There was this DJ that lived down the hall, and he introduced me to a lot of underground heads. And he was showing me a bunch of battles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I saw some battles from you. And then I also heard, you know, some early Greenhouse Effect music that this dude knew about. And I was like, what is this? This shit is dope. And he was like, oh, you never heard of this? I was like, nah, like, I don't know what this is. And then fast forward, 2003 was the first year I went to Scribble Jam. You and Illogic were performing on stage. And I was like, oh shit, that is Greenhouse shit.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously at that point, Inkwell was no longer.
Right, right. Yep.
So yes, so that's when I first heard about you. So the social media cheat code to me is basically you trying to help artists out. When I first heard about you, you were tearing rappers' heads off on some battle shit.
Yeah, we've
I
come a
mean,
long way. We've come a long way.
I'm just saying it's kind of crazy. It's crazy. It's like now
Yeah.
Blueprint helps the artists. Back
Yeah.
then, he was
Yeah.
trying to tear their heads off. You know what I'm
That's absolutely true. That's true. Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny. Even back then, people would meet me and be like, damn, you're so nice. I thought you were an asshole based on how you be rapping and battling people. I was like, that was the era. Everybody's an asshole when they battle.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? I'm sure you know you battle. You know, it's people who probably don't even know you, never had a conversation with you, and probably think you're an asshole just because they seen you crush somebody on stage.
Oh yeah, yeah. People think I'm an asshole all the time, but I'm actually a very nice person
Me
in
too.
person.
Exactly. In
But
person.
yes, I definitely get people see me and they're like, "Oh, that dude's an asshole. Did you hear what he said on that one song?" I'm
Right.
like, Yeah, man.
It's art, man. So yeah, it came full circle for me. Doing the podcast really kind of allowed me to kind of get so many things out of my head. There's so many, we've been doing this a long time. We've seen so many different eras of social media and all of this stuff. We went from, user groups to message boards to the blog era to MySpace era and beyond, and now it is. And so it's like seeing all of these things kind of allowed me to see like what's working, um, and like what is universal over the years that I've seen. And now I realize like what we didn't have when we were coming up was no one wanted to help us, man. No one wanted to help us. All the guys who we thought were like the guys who should have been helping us or should have been happy to see us were assholes to us. Right? Even as we surpassed them and went beyond them, they were still assholes to us, many of them. And so, and we thought about like, yo, why didn't those dudes try to put us up on game or help us or try to, extend the olive branch? We never said nothing about them. We was always courteous and respectful, but we found that always bugged me. Like, why do these dudes who have so much more experience have such a hard time helping us or helping artists when the artists who are coming up behind them see them as role models already, as like we want to hear what they got to say. And so that's kind of what's behind the books, trying to help artists in a way where guys never were willing to help me and my crew coming up.
I definitely, I mean, I feel that. I feel that definitely. The thing about it is, um, what do you say to so I've had this happen to me multiple times where, um, people see me doing things. They see me booking my own tours, going out there doing my own things like that, and then they ask me, "How do I do that?" And I give them a little game. If if I don't give everybody the game though,
Yeah,
because some people,
they don't appreciate it.
yeah. So I don't, but there's certain people I do give the game, and then I've had people come back at me like, well, that sounds like a lot of work and a lot of time. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I've been rhyming 26 years. Like, this is 26 years of me building a network, building my way to this point. Like, what, like, you just want me to give you my whole network and everything like overnight? Like, how
Yeah.
does, but there's some people that they feel that that's what they should get.
Yes.
And with a book like this, I mean, they could read this and you know try to get there themselves, but it still takes time. It never happens overnight. And that's
Exactly.
the thing, is um a lot of artists in the new era or in a new age think it's going to happen like this. Like,
Mhm.
and if you're an independent artist trying to do things yourself, it doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So I guess with the book, is that, are those, I mean, are you trying to help all artists, or are you trying to help artists that are um deserving to get the help? Like, because
I,
you know what
I'll
I'm saying?
I'll say it like this. And this guy here had the saying. He says, "I'm only looking for the people who looking for me."
Mm,
Meaning that the people, and there's another saying that goes, when the student is ready, the teacher, what I'm saying, will show himself, right? And
yeah.
so if the student is not ready, they'll never see the teacher. They'll never find it. They won't even notice him was teaching. And so I write the books for those who are coming into their, their phase of being a student, who are ready to learn. Because like you said, there's gonna be a bunch of people who say they're ready, who say they want what you got, say they want to do what you do. They say they want those results, but they don't want to put in that work. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
And those people are gonna get weeded out. You know what I'm saying? They're not even gonna want to take the time to write a book. They're gonna be thinking, "Can you just email me the 3 steps? Can you just send me the cliff notes of it, please?" You know what I mean? Like, no, you got to buy the book. You got to read the book. I'm not going to tell you none of this shit. And if you sit there and you read it, then you're going to get everything out of it. And you're going to be writing me emails like, God damn, this is so simple and so dope. I'm so glad I read this. I mean, but if you don't want to take the time to do it, you won't even you won't even know I got a book out. You'll be sitting there complaining. Guys will sit there complaining, man, these dudes, they don't even be helping younger artists. They just made it and they just closed the door behind themselves. Fools be talking about,
Yeah.
sneak dissing, established
yeah.
artists, older artists. They be talking like, but then these same guys, when you put it right there, you put the onus on them. Because it's no longer like, oh, Blueprint won't help nobody. He won't share with nobody. He won't tell nobody. Nah, that's not true. Every week on the podcast, we do it on the books. And if you don't do it, if you don't want that information, it's not because we weren't willing to present it. It's because you were too lazy to do it. So
Yeah.
I'm looking for the people who looking for me.
Yep. I feel that. Yeah, man. How is the book being received, by the way? Is it from
Oh, it's good. It's good. I mean, the cheat code book, I never thought that would really the 10 traits book was way bigger than the cheat code book.
Okay.
More successful, but I understand why. Like the 10 traits of successful artist book, that's a hip hop book that teaches people the history of artists that they already know and enjoy, and it's more universal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to be necessarily a independent artist like us to dig that book. The cheat code book is for guys like us who really want to tighten their shit and get ahead. And when you start selling stuff to primarily artists, your pool gets smaller. The amount of people you can sell that to, it's not as big, but it's more powerful. Like a lot of people who've here's the wild thing about that cheat code book. I know that book is dope because the people I know who have read it have all messaged me and been like, this shit's so dope, I don't want to tell nobody about it. They literally don't want to tell nobody about it. Because they're like, yo, I feel like if I expose this shit to these people, they're gonna understand what I'm doing. It's gonna peel the curtain back. And so they don't really go and they're not sharing it like the other book, but they're sending me messages letting me know, yo, that shit is crazy.
Yeah.
So it's got a weird effect. So it's like, damn, I kind of wish it didn't have that thing where people don't, it's like some secret society shit.
Yeah. I mean, I technically still have to get my copy. I am getting one.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten mine yet. I've been busy doing bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, you probably do 90% of the stuff in the book anyway. You probably do a lot of the shit in there anyway.
Well, I mean, but I'm still interested. I'm still very interested. So let's get into some music, man. You have a huge catalog of music. What I wanted to do tonight, since you have a new single out, but you don't have a full new record out yet.
Right.
So what I want to do is I wanted to go all the way back. 05, you dropped a record called 1988 on Rhymesayers. This was after early Greenhouse music, but you dropped this. This wasn't your first solo record,
yes, it
right?
was.
It was your first solo.
Yeah, very first solo record. Soul Position came out before then, but that was my first solo record.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, and this record was super dope. And there's a song on here. Okay, so there's two songs on here. The song I'm gonna play is probably one of those songs that resonates universally through a lot of people that they've heard, or maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just the one that loves it so much. But Boombox, I love. So I was going to play Boombox, and then I wanted to come back and talk about the inspiration behind Boombox. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about this song that actually, because I only wanted to play one off each record, but there's this song that I feel like I lived behind um the second verse. I feel like I lived behind the second verse of this song for so long, when it comes to dealing with women who are accepting of an artist's lifestyle, because it's really
Mhm.
hard to be in a relationship and be a full-time artist.
Yes.
And it's hard to find somebody that's cool with that. And you have this song called Liberated, and there's a second verse on there
Mhm.
that for the longest time, um, I mean, I finally found a girl that's completely supportive,
Yeah.
like loves what I do, super supportive. I support her back. Like we're all good. But for a long time, once I started talking about doing more with the music, a lot of these girls were that, I was in relationships with were like, well, how long you gonna do that for? Uh, like, you
Is
can't
it
do that
just a
forever.
phase? Is this just a phase you going through?
And that second verse of Liberated, man, like that shit took me there for a long time. Like that joint, every time I would get in a relationship, that song would be in the back of my head. Like, is
Yeah.
this gonna be something? Is this gonna be the one that's gonna be accepting of me trying to be an artist? Um, but yeah, that song was powerful for me, man. Like the that second verse. I mean, the whole song's dope. The whole record is dope,
Thank you.
but yeah, that second verse in there definitely talked to me. You know what I'm saying? But Boombox is what I wanted to play and talk about that, because that's an amazing song as well. And I remember, I don't know, you definitely don't remember this, but there was a time we weren't as cool. We hadn't worked on music yet. I didn't book shows for you out this way yet. Like we weren't at that phase
Mm.
yet. But this was before that. This was when you were playing a Rhyme Sayers um showcase at Summerfest
Okay.
one year. You played it, and you played Boombox. And I feel like some people in the crowd, they had no idea what was going on. And I'm sitting here just like saying the words.
Yeah.
Or like you were asking people before the song even came on, you were asking people what they wanted to hear, or whatever. And I'm screaming Boombox. And I'm screaming like, and you just looked at me weird, like, who the fuck is that? But I knew about the joint, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's play Boombox. We'll come back. We'll talk about it. And yeah, and then we'll just keep moving like that.
Cool.
So this is Pick Apart the Passion podcast, Boombox Blueprint from the record 1988. Let's run it. Yeah, that is a dope record, man. And that came from 1988. That's actually from the time period when people were more receptive to the three verses.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Three verses is kind of dead right now. It's kind of dead. It's on its
Oh
last
yeah,
leg.
attention spans are all the way down in the
Mhm.
in the gutter, man. I don't know what's up
Yeah.
with that.
Every year the songs get shorter and shorter.
So that song actually, if somebody heard that without talking to you, they would probably think you were an asshole.
They think I look like Radio Raheem. They think I'm some big dude with these big fucking high
Because
top
that
face.
because that song is hard. That
Yeah,
song
it's
is
very hard.
hard and rugged. You know what I'm
It
saying?
is.
So what inspires that? How does the writing process go? You produced a beat for that too?
Yep, yep. I did the beat
Um,
for it too.
so how does that creation happen? Is this one of the first songs, last songs, middle songs of the album? You know, like
I think that was done early on. There was like the 1988 record and the style came from like a conversation that me and DJ Prism used to have. So like DJ Prism was like me, Logic, and Prism used to tour together first. So we would always spend all these hours in the van talking music and shit. And so me and Prism would be talking beats sometimes. And sometimes I would play stuff for him or he play stuff for me. And we'd be like, yeah, that's that 88 shit. And so we would just had it, it was like our inside thing, like, oh yeah, that's the 88 shit. And so eventually when it came time to do a record, I was like, I'm about to just do more of this 88 shit. And that record was done. I was performing Boombox in 2002 on tour with Atmosphere, but that record didn't come out to 2005.
yeah.
You know, so that record was a long time in the chamber for that album. So I knew the style. It was more like you're saying, there's an era where you had three verses, these highly conceptual songs where like you go back and you listen to like Biz Markie or Big Daddy Kane or Master Ace and guys like that and G Rap. They were all like conceptual writers. They weren't really abstract like that back then. Like this song's gonna be about picking boogers, and I'm gonna have three verses about picking boogers. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah.
You knew what you was getting. and they would make it fly. It was like, oh, this is dope. I know what this song is. I know what this song is about, you know? And where and the reason I felt the need to do that is because like at that time, our scene was starting to get like a reputation for being weirdos and too abstract and emo rap and all these weird labels they were putting on us. And I took offense to some of it, like, yo, y'all don't know our influences. Y'all don't know how we got here. Y'all are just looking at one or two things defining us by that. And so I made it a point. I was like, when I finally, if you know, because I never had any really desire then, but then after the Soul Positions just did well, and I started seeing how the scene was kind of, they were kind of making us look in some of these things. I was like, I have to show people what it is, because they might not know just by listening to some of these other records of mine or by my peers that this is what I can do and this is what I come from. And so that was the nexus of every song on that record. It was like what Prism and I call the 88 style, what you and I grew up on as the 88 style. Those records, that way of writing, that way of approaching, really direct, you know what I mean? Just like to the point, really creative. Like that's what I wanted to do on that record.
Yeah, and I love the production on that record. And rest in power to DJ Prism. The random story, the only time I've ever met DJ Prism was when he judged the beatbox battle at Scribble Jam.
Nice.
And since I knew he was judging it,
yeah,
I literally went on there and I did a beatbox version of Hold the Floor.
Oh, nice. Yeah, classic.
And he spazzed out. He was like,
yeah. And he was a nasty beatboxer in his own right, which is crazy. Like Prism could beatbox his ass off. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But yes, amazing song. Shouts to Prism for inspiring the 88 with Conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, let's move forward a little bit. So there was a Greenhouse record in between 88 and Adventures in Counterculture, right? There was
a few. Yeah, there was multiple. We actually put out a Greenhouse Effect record like right after 88 came out called Columbus or Bust. And that record was 2005, late 2005. And then then we didn't do anything Greenhouse until I think Illogic and I came back 2009, 2010, I think, with the Electric Purgatory records, EPs, and then the Bend But Don't Break record.
And I actually think I played you guys did a stop in because I have that Bend But Don't Break record.
Yeah.
And when you guys did a stop in Green Bay, I'm pretty sure I played that show with y'all.
Yeah.
There. I actually think that was the first time I played a show with y'all.
Yeah, I think that was our first time coming through there. Yep.
Yeah, and that was super dope. So talking about Greenhouse real quick, my dude David Birch out in I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Kelowna, Canada, right?
Wow.
He wanted to ask, will there ever be another Greenhouse Effect album with Illogic? And why did you guys never really make a go of the Orphanage group?
Let's start with the Orphanage one. The Orphanage is funny because it's like we actually did record a whole album. It's just the album never came out. It just never got, I think there was a lot of, we got together one week in Minneapolis, me, Slug, Illogic, Idea, Aesop, and just recorded for a whole week. I produced half the record. Ant produced half the record. And I've leaked some of the songs over the years, like that Hold Mine track. There's another one called Obsolete that I leaked. Those are the two records. There's another track that people didn't know is an Orphanage track. There's a track called Soap. That's me and Slug together going back and forth. Those are all written that week. Those are all songs from that Orphanage album that was never released. Timing is really it's something, like,
oh yeah.
If you don't put something out at certain times, sometimes those records, they kind of miss their window. And I think that record was one that missed its window. I think there was a lot of pressure on super groups that we all kind of felt that would have required us to go back and re-record and tighten certain things up, and it would have and it would have lost something. And I think everybody collectively was just like, don't even sweat it. You know what I mean? Like, so that one never saw the light of day. But back then we all did so much music that like we just didn't know. I never really sweated at the time because I was like there was records I did, like I never knew Soul Position was gonna blow up. I never knew that people were gonna be into that because we were just doing so much fucking music. There's shit
Yeah.
I did for weightless shit that never saw the light of day. Like the Iska Bibbles record with Greenhouse, Logic, Plead the Fifth. That record never came out either around then for a lot of the same reasons. It was like those windows for those big groups, you got to put it out right then and there, and we waited, and then it kind of missed this window, and then we just were like, never mind, but a Logic and me, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there will be more Greenhouse. It's funny, I talk to this dude every week for an hour on a podcast. It's like, we've been talking about doing some music, but it's got to be something where I think it's just like we don't even trip on it. Like if we do something, I don't want to get into no heavily conceptual shit. I want to just be like fun. You know how it is. Like you get with your guys, you write yours, you write his. The verse cool, beat's cool, record it. The end.
Yeah, I mean, with him being heavy on the production lately, I think it would be super dope to collab on production and create a project. I think that would be dope for
But see,
y'all to do.
you're making it complicated again. You're making it complicated.
Right. Too complicated. Too complicated.
Too complicated. You see, this line no Greenhouse out right now.
Yeah.
Variables. Yeah, you see, this line, like we got to make it simple. We got to make it simple if we want this shit to come out. You know what I mean? As simple as possible. But he and I have been kicking around some ideas, so I'm sure there will be another one. I mean, that's my guy. So we talk about stuff like that all the time, and I talk to him just as much as anybody else in my life. So I'm sure music will come out.
Yeah. Well, that's dope. And yeah, that question was from the homie David Birch, Kelowna, Canada. Have you ever been there? I don't even know where that is.
I never heard no Kelowna before.
Maybe I might be pronouncing. I might be fucking it all up. I might be pronouncing it all wrong. Idea. But
what? That's a province, Kelowna. What province is that in? Where the hell is that at?
Man, I'd have to look it up.
Saskatchewan. Where's this guy from?
I don't. I'm not sure, man, but he's obviously a fan of Blueprint Greenhouse. Yeah. So
that's dope. Shout out to that guy. Shout out. Much appreciated.
So adventures in counterculture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna play probably the joint off it that most people recognize, although it's still a very powerful song, the Radio Inactive. I'm gonna play that joint, and definitely want to talk about that one. However, on this record, earlier we briefly talked about how there is some songs with R&B influence on there, and some of those joints are actually some of my favorite joints personally on the record. Like So Alive is amazing. Like when that song just makes me happy, man. Like in the car, like I play that and it makes me happy, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm pretty sure this is what this is supposed to do.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Mission accomplished.
And there's the other joint, and I can't think of the title off the top. Maybe you can help me out. It's got the intro with the kids playing. Sounds like by a pool.
Welcome home.
Love that joint.
Yeah.
Amazing song. Very amazing. And those are probably two of my favorite joints off the record. And then when it comes to rhyming on the record, even though, like I said, you make great albums, from front to finish. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just picking, I could play whole records, but obviously we're not going to sit here for hours to go through entire records of your catalog. I just wanted to pick out certain joints. So let's play Radio Inactive. Cool. And then we'll come back, we'll discuss it, and we'll keep things moving along. So this is Radio Inactive, Blueprint, Pick Apart the Passion podcast. Let's run it. Yeah, man. Um, Powerful song, very powerful. I love how a lot of your very powerful songs are very in your face. I love that. I love how the lyrics can just there's okay, so there's I follow comedy as well, like comedians, and
Hmm.
I love the real shit that comedians say sometimes, like a
Yeah,
Chappelle or something where it's
it's
in your
fun.
face, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I feel like that's what you do with songs. And
Yes.
you do it better than a lot of people.
Yes.
And I think that's what has you stand out from other artists. And you definitely did that here. Um, but what inspired this song? Like is there a moment? Is there an incident that happened that
Y-
made you
Yeah,
write this?
definitely. That song was written behind an incident where like in 2004, I think, maybe 2004 or 2003, at the peak of like Columbus scene and our success and coming up and all this other shit, there was somebody who like talked to the big urban radio station about having me on up there, and playing my music or something like that. And they kind of fronted on me. You know what I mean? Like if I remember correctly, they had me on there, and then they kind of said some slick stuff about, like, he don't fit the format and da da da, and you know
Mm,
what I mean. And they didn't want to play the song. They invited me up there to play the song. You know what I mean, and have the people call and say what they thought about it. But they didn't want to play the song when it came time to it. So you had the guy who opened the door. Another guy's like, I don't know, man. This don't fit the format. You know what I mean? And I was just like, what do you mean don't fit the format? Like, why even have me up here? You know what I'm saying? Like, I
yeah.
the format is what, let the people decide. I was just more like, let the people decide. So they were supposed to play the A side, which I think it would have been Boombox or something like that. It was something like that. They end up not playing. They end up playing the B side of this single, which was called Dead Presidents. It was just only on the 12-inch song, and that wasn't even a song. And people called in and were like, yo, this is dope. This is really dope, really dope. People who listen to commercial music all day heard that song and were like, this is really dope. And so it was this moment of where like the guy who fronted on me didn't want to, he refused to play the A side of my single,
Mm,
reluctantly played the B side because he was like, okay, I don't want this to turn into no bullshit. Let me just throw something on. He plays it, people call in, lines start lighting up, you know. And then I think we had a show that weekend or something. It was an 88 release party that weekend, I believe. And the show's like packed, pretty much sold out. A 600 cap room in Columbus. And I just like that next week, I think I wrote this song. Like, yo, because it was inspired by like people thinking that you gotta fit the format, print don't fit the format, you know what I'm saying? Uh
yeah.
tell him to change it up, then maybe he can come back. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, yo, when I wrote about that, after I reflected, I'm like, yo, I don't write this shit for that. You know what I'm saying? This is something completely different, and those guys on the radio can never really wrap their brain around what it is that made Blueprint's name bubble so much that people that you had to have him up here, even though you don't even mess with what he do. You don't get it. You get that this dude is one of the most popping artists in the city, but you ain't really sat down and really analyzed it yet. You
Yeah.
ain't wrapped your brain around what's special about what he and his guys are doing. And so then when you have him up there, your true colors come out. And you don't want to let the people decide. And I was just like, whatever. Cause I didn't care. I was just like, you know what? This kind of validates everything we've been doing. And the fact that our people don't want to hear this shit on the radio anyway.
Hmm.
Like they fuck with us because they don't even want to listen to that shit. I just went up there because my guy asked me. I didn't pitch myself to go up there. I was never like, hey, can y'all have me on? I didn't do no pitching. They were my guys like, hey man, look, I got a homie who works there. He got this connect. I went in there with your single. I talked to this guy. I don't know what's up, but they said they want you on there before your release party this Friday. And they're gonna play your single. I said, all right, cool, I'll go.
Yeah.
And that's what inspired it. So it's a real story of like the biggest urban radio station in Columbus kind of like trying to front on me, where I was like, all right.
Yeah, I feel like there was definitely something that happened that made that song happen.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Um, okay, so before we get in the next joint, my girl actually had a question that she asked on the post, because the next joint we're gonna get into is actually from the Respect the Architect record. Um, and my girl Amy wanted to know, how did Perspective, because that's the song I'm gonna play. How did the song Perspective um evolve into what it is, and what inspired that song? Let's talk about that one before
yeah,
we get into it, because this song, I've played this song for multiple people, and people that have never, you know, that were unfamiliar
yeah,
with who you were, and I've played this song for them, and they're like, this is one of the most amazing songs I've ever heard. um like, as far as what it's about, the concept behind it, what it talks about, the real life things
yeah,
that it talks about. So yeah, just if you could briefly touch
yeah,
on that.
yeah. I think it was one of those songs where, like, when you watch what's going on around us, it does seem like chaos, right? Like if you take a snapshot of any week in the news, you know, it's like, man, this thing's happening, that thing's happening, this thing's happening, everything is all bad, and you start really losing sight of of yourself and where things are at, like, man, and you can get caught up in it. And that's why the song starts off, 10 girls stabbed on a college campus, 20 school kids shot down Sandy Hook, black teenagers, feels like the chaos is everywhere you look. And these are all things that I saw, that I pulled from actual news stories that literally were happening when I was writing this, and I was like, and I just wanted to start writing it. And as I started writing, it started kind of evolving to even myself, to kind of, because when I start writing these songs, I don't know where they're gonna go.
Yeah.
I didn't have a title. I didn't know what was going to be the core. None of that. And I just wrote that verse. And by the time I got to the verse, it was like, what I realized was like, yo, even though things might be fucked up around you, it's very important that you keep perspective on what's going on, bird's eye view, of what's going on top down, instead of like always in the trenches. It's like, if you're painting a picture, it's hard to appreciate the details of the picture when you're so close to it and you're painting it. You're right there on that canvas, six
Yeah.
inches, 8 inches away. Sometimes you have to take 10 steps back to
Mm.
really look at it and appreciate it and understand what you have, more importantly. And that was what the song kind of started at. And the song I wrote like one verse or a verse and a half. And then I just sat on it for 6, 8 months, because I wrote the first verse I wrote to just a piano riff that I had somewhere.
Mm.
And that was it. And I just wrote it to that, and I just left it in my phone and left it alone. And then maybe 6, 8 months later, um, I make mad beats. He used to post all kind of beats on his timeline. He had a period. He doesn't do that as much anymore, but he would just be on Facebook, and every day he would post joints, and I would be like, man, this is crazy, crazy, crazy. And I would never, reach out like, what's up with that? But then he played that beat. As soon as he played that beat, it was like it matched the emotion that I was looking for perspective.
Mm.
But I was missing, which is why I never finished it. And so as soon as he posted it, I sent him a message. Hey man, has anybody claimed this one yet? He said, nope. I said, can you send me an MP3 of it? I want to try something to it. He sends me a 2-minute version of it. Um, I finished writing the rest of it. I edit it, chop it up, sequence it, send it back to him to see what he thought. And he was just blown away, like, holy shit, this is incredible. I didn't think you were gonna do nothing like that to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and he told the story. He was on my podcast. He was like, yo, he said, yo, I took it. I was like, this is crazy. He said, I had to send it to one of my guys. Like, dude, listen to this shit. Blueprint just did to my beat.
Yeah.
and I didn't even have him sequence it really. I just 2-tracked it. We didn't even mix that song. There's no mix. I just had him send me the 2-track version of it. Even though he wanted to track it out, I was like, nah, we don't even want to mess around with all that complicated stuff. Sometimes you just gotta get the idea out and just roll with it. And that's what I tried to do on that one. But it was just something where I was like, I felt confident about it, but I didn't really know. You know, sometimes you don't know. And then seeing a response to it was like really, really encouraging, you know, because it's like people get it, people see, you know, and this song is inspiring, and I'm seeing people play, and I've seen videos of people playing it in their church, and people playing it for youth groups, and people playing just all different settings that I never thought about when I wrote it. But it's one of those things, like you said, like the beauty of a lot of the great comedians is that they can talk about things that are right in front of your face, but you might not have put the pieces together.
Mm.
And when they put those pieces together and put it in the proper context, it's like, oh yeah, all of this makes sense. I see the whole picture now. You know, that's something I've always tried to do as a writer. I mean, a lot of that is behind why I chose the name Blueprint. I didn't want to be on some weirdo abstract shit. I wanted to have like this connection to like the foundation of all of this, and be able to break things down and contextualize them. And that's kind of what I try to do on songs like that. But songs like that, it might have taken me 6, 8 months to write the whole thing, time wise, you know. But
Well, I mean, even if it took that long, it's amazing. Like, you I feel like a song like this, you couldn't just. I mean, you could have. You
yeah,
could have just, kept going and just finished it right away and been done with it and put it out. And yeah, the first verse and a half that made it onto the song,
yeah,
would have been there with maybe some other stuff that would have been cool. But I mean, it needed its time
yep,
to marinate, to create this amazing joint that you made. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. And I did that a lot on that record. There's another song on there called on that album, Respect the Architect, called Silver Lining. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another song where I literally would write 4 bars a day, and then I would just walk away from it. I had no idea where the song was going. And by the time as I'm into the writing, I don't know the concept or what it's going to be about until I'm deep into it, and it starts to form. It's kind of like we're saying, when you're painting, you're too close. You can't see the whole picture.
Yeah.
But as I get to the end of it, I start backing up as a writer, and then I start gaining perspective myself on it. And like that song was like, you know, I started writing about just like all the shit I had been through, you know, and then and it made me reflect on just like how I had made it through. And it was like, yo, you could have easily focused on these bad things. You could have easily got lost in these hard times, you know, but you managed to somehow, as a writer, see the silver lining in all of this shit.
Mm.
And and that's what's gotten you this far. And I didn't sit down and say I'm gonna write a song about that. I had no idea. No idea. I just start writing, and then the song kind of forms. And a lot of those songs, it's just like that. I don't know. But I mean, I do have my joints like Boombox where I know this is a song is about this. I'm gonna write about this. But songs like that, I don't have any clue. I just start writing in it, and that just ends up what they come out as.
Yeah. Well, amazing joint. Let's play. Let's play it. The other thing that's crazy to me, real quick, a lot of the joints that I picked, um, they're the joints that probably have stood out to a lot of people on the record just because of the
Yeah.
concepts of them as well. Although, like I said, the whole album is amazing, but uh, a lot of the joints I picked that are those main songs, you did music videos for them. So it's
Yes.
it's almost like
Yes.
you knew that those were gonna be
Yeah, I
the
had a
joints.
feeling. Yeah, once it came out, you know, and then once you start assimilating it and you put it together, you're like, I got to take a chance on this one. You know, so, and even like the perspective music video, it's the simplest music video. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you know,
but
random fact about the music video: Illogic shot that. He held the camera.
oh,
He didn't know nothing about cameras. I was like, yo, I want to shoot a little quick little music video for this. So we snuck up to the top of the police parking station in Columbus. It's legal to be up there. And so we we went up to the
oh
top.
shit.
Yeah, it's like this see Columbus PD parking garage. We snuck up the little entrance, and we were on the top. And we was like, yo, we might only be able to do 2 or 3 takes of this shit. 'Cause we don't want nobody coming up here fucking with us. And we're gonna get out of here. And we shot it, and man, and I was just like, I just put you on a try. I said, just stand here and just move like this. Everything is not do nothing crazy. And he was like, all right. I said, now just follow me walking along. Okay, cool. We shot 3 different takes. That was it. It's no B-roll. And then I got home. I accidentally figured out, and I haven't been able to figure out how I did it today. I accidentally stumbled upon a feature filter that made the fucking blue skies look yellow by accident. And I was like, that's it.
There it is.
There it is. A fucking accident, a happy accident. And it made it look so crazy because it's like you're talking about perspective, but the clouds, which were blue, are now yellow. And it gives it this weird, dope feel, you know? But yeah, it was one of those joints. I was like, let's just do it and see what happens, man. And yeah, it came out really, really, really dope.
Yeah. Perspective, Pick Apart the Passion podcast, Blueprint. Let's play it. And then we'll come back and get into the next one. Yeah, man. Um, you know what's crazy about that song? This is just random. Not long ago, and now it's fucked up because I can't even think of it now. But not long ago, I actually heard the sample of that,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, that's that. I
Yep.
heard it. I was like, there it is.
Yeah.
But now I can't think of it. I can't think of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. amazing song. Like I said, I presented that song to multiple people that have that had no idea who you were. They heard it. They're like, "This is the most amazing song I've ever heard," and I'm pretty sure they went and listened to more after that.
Dope.
So, um, yes. Let's move forward because I don't want to keep you too long. King No Crown.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I picked the joints that had the videos that mostly, a lot of people probably have heard the joints from it. But I highly recommend anyone tuning in to go check the full records because they're all amazing albums. Blueprint's an amazing artist. But
Thank you.
yes, Persevere.
Mm-hmm.
Um, another joint that stands out. Um, yeah, I don't know. Should we talk about Persevere
Yeah, we can talk
first,
about it. Yeah,
or should we talk about it after I play it?
we can talk about it first.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about Persevere and yeah, what striked up this idea for you, this song?
It's funny thing about that song, Persevere, was like that's a song out of all of the ones that we played, I was the most unsure about.
Hmm.
It was because it was the one I wrote the fastest.
Okay.
You know how it is as a writer sometimes. If you write something too fast, you be thinking, I don't know, man. I ain't work hard enough for this. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, that is true. However, me, uh,
Yeah.
I'm a freestyle dude, so
Oh, that's
I
true.
actually write too many things too fast, probably. Like
Yeah.
I don't double think shit. It's bad. It's bad for
Yeah.
me.
You got the opposite problem.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Mine is like because like I like with other songs, like I wrote that. I wrote a verse here, and then I waited 6 months, then I wrote this, and I wrote it. It's like I had so many songs like that, but then a song like this, like Persevere, was a song where really I just sat down. I was like, I'm just gonna write whatever the fuck pops in my mind. I'm not gonna overthink it. If it's fun, it's fun. If it's not, it's cool. And I'm just gonna do it. And what happened was I did it and I liked it when I first did. Oh yeah, it's cool. But the more I listened to it, I was like, should I go back and rewrite this? Should is that really, can I bar out a little bit more? Why am I not barring out? There's no bars in here. Like, I don't even got no metaphors in this motherfucker. There's no punchline. Damn, am I just gonna put this song out like this? For some reason, that song had me second guessing the whole thing to where up until it was pretty much a wrap and like the album was solidified, I was considering rewriting that song. And I think it
Hmm.
was because but then there was something part of it was like, yo, don't overthink this. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a
Yeah.
part of it where it's like, and like when I listen to it now, there's parts of it I'm like, yeah, I was really just having fun in a moment. Like, we practiced on the set until 2 a.m. Before this was my job, I just wanted one chance. Stand up, sweat it, and my beat boy stands. Like that shit. I was like, I'm just having fun. And at the time, I loved it. But the more I thought, I was like, damn, should I be barring out? Are people gonna get that? Because the song is
Do people want the Blueprint bars? Are
right.
people gonna like this?
I was confused. And then I think I just let it play. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a chance. You know what's even crazier? The first year that record was out, that song wasn't even the record that people didn't even really care. The first time when that record first came out, I did the video because by then I was like, I trust it. This has got to be the joint. This has got to be the single. So I did a video for it. But I was also like, you know what? We went on a tour in 2015 and no one knew the words to it in 2015. The record came out in 2015. The whole tour, I'm out there, I'm playing the horn, we killing people. They hear it live, they're like, oh, this is dope. It wasn't until I went back on tour in like 2018, 2017, where people were like, that's the song. You could end the set with that song. But in 2015, when it first came out, people were like, oh yeah. And then I started seeing it just started really bubbling. People like, no, that's the one. And everyone's, no, persevere. And as soon as people hear the piano, they're like, yeah, that. And I started hearing people talking about it. And they're like, yo, this song inspires me to keep going. the chorus, the only reason, you're here because you figured out a way to persevere. I think those lines, even though in my mind at the time I felt I had to bar out, you don't have to bar out all the time. You
Yeah.
saying things that are real and people can identify with is far more important than having clever bars. And I think that song is that. It's just a song where it's every man's song. You know what I mean? Because we
Hmm.
all have been in that position where you're like, yo, man, I'm just gonna keep going, you know, and not give up, and keep pushing.
Do you think that maybe the reason people didn't know it right away is because that was that um that was part of that period when people's attention spans started declining more, or you know what I'm saying, like you said more people caught onto it later on,
Yeah.
but because they went back to vibe
Hmm.
out to the record. They didn't know it right away when the record came out because at the time people were probably skimming. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because 2015, somewhere between 2015 and 2010, I feel like the attention span of people went somewhere.
Yeah.
Like
I,
something happened.
I think there's another factor too that what you just saying kind of made me think of too. If I look at just like my catalog between 2010 and 2015, I was putting out a lot of music.
Mm,
2010 was the Electric Purgatory EPs. I put out the Blueprint versus Who. 2011 was Adventures in Counterculture. 2012 Deleted Scenes. 2013 Bend But Don't Break. 2014 Respect the Architect. 2015 King No Crown. And I toured off all of those records.
yeah.
So maybe I was overwhelmed. Maybe I wasn't making it easier for people to pay attention because I was just every year coming with it, like bam, 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 bam. But yeah, I mean, attention spans they get worse and worse every year. But yeah, that song now that song is one of the top 3, 5 songs in my catalog. Whereas
Yeah,
when it
it's
first came
it's
out, it
it's a
wasn't.
dope record, dope record. But yeah, let's play it. And yeah, real quick. Since just because you touched on that, speaking of attention spans, so I have tons of music, and I constantly put out shit. Um, and I don't know if it's because I just have so much music, or if it's because um I feel that if you don't, people tend to lose you, or
Mhm.
forget about what's going on. Um, but I mean, you put out a lot of music there, but you still seemed like you put out a record every year. So
Yeah,
like a yearly thing. Like I'm talking about in 2019, I dropped 4 projects, like
yeah,
4 albums. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
I've never
Um,
done
and and
that.
and that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah,
then and nowadays, you look at somebody like Griselda,
yeah, yep,
and they put out like 10 records a year and shit. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, is that is that too much? Is that like what is like I don't.
I think it depends on the artist and their fans. Like I've had periods where I didn't put out nothing for long periods of time. So like after the Soul Position record came out in '06, I think it was, I didn't really put out a solo record until 2011. You know what I'm saying? Like I had like a Blueprint versus Funkadelic little EP and a Blueprint Who thing, little 5 song things, but these weren't real records, you know? And so I've had periods where I've had extremely low output and people were okay when I came back. You know what I'm saying? But then when I was dropping shit every year, people were still with me. I think it depends on the audience. It's kind of, and like you're saying, Griselda they've cultivated an audience that will just buy their stuff religiously. Like, look, we don't care if you drop. They could drop an album every quarter, and none of their hardcore fans would even think about not checking it. They would check it. They're like, yeah, we need to check
Yeah.
this out. They built that up, but I don't think every artist has that. I think even for myself, I've kind of learned that. Like now, I haven't put out a record, a solo record since 2018. It's 2021. I wanted to put one out in 2020, COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
2021. All this shit has happened with vinyl manufacturing, and it's pushed all that shit back as well. So it's like, and the touring, everything still ain't where it should be. So it's gonna
Yeah.
be 4 years before I get another solo record out at this rate. But I don't necessarily feel like my fans are tripping. Now, I've had periods like we said where I put out multiple records. You know what I'm saying? December 2004, I put out Chamber Music. March of 2000, I'm sorry, April 2005, I put out 1988. June of 2005, we put out Greenhouse versus Radiohead. That's 3 records in less than 6 months, 7 months, and it was a lot then. But like you're saying, now that's normal. It's
Yeah.
normal. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
nothing. I think it's just fans. Sometimes, you know, for me, and then here's the thing too that was a little different. Touring kind of changed how I put out records, right? Because I couldn't really rush because I had to, if I believed in a record, that I was going to tour, right?
Yeah.
So I couldn't drop 4 year because I can't tour 4 times no fucking year.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
shit would
Yeah.
kill you, you right? Like, so it's like I want to be able to do that, get done, and come back home and do music. Um, so yeah, I think it just depends on your fans. Like, what do you? But what you're hitting on is important, which is that in many instances, the music is releasing music is the promotion for the music,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like, the more music you put out, the more attention you command. To where you might not have a super crazy marketing plan, 20 fucking videos, or all this crazy or this crazy tour, but the fact that you're active keeps people tuned in, and the music becomes the promotion for the music as opposed to all this other peripheral shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I feel like that's because see, I don't have that. Um, I have a fan base, but I don't have a great fan base. But
Yeah.
the people that are in my fan base fuck with me. They don't see everything, but they see that I'm constantly doing shit. And the fact that I don't have an amazing fan base to me is partial of why I constantly in your face shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's why and even the people I'm working with right now, they're kind of like, well, that's too I don't know, that might be too much. And I'm like, well, I have all this. This is what I have all this shit. I
Yeah.
want to get it out to people. I don't want to sit back and relax because I've seen people in my area that have done that. And once they come back, those people are like, why aren't y'all fucking with me no more? And people are like, I didn't even know you still did shit.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that mentality is why I do so much. Maybe
Yeah.
because the Milwaukee scene is weird, man. I mean, you've played here. You actually told me to my face that the last time I booked you and you came out here, that was probably one of the best shows you've ever done in Milwaukee.
Facts.
Aside from obviously doing the Rhyme Share showcases because
Yeah.
people are always at those.
Yeah.
But
And I
as
don't even
far
count
as
that.
like
Yeah.
a
My show.
solo
Yeah.
tour show, that was one of the best ones you've ever done, and that made me feel great about it.
Yeah.
Like that was dope that I was able to do that and bring people to that. And honestly, that was one of my most successful shows
Yeah.
that we had.
That show was
Like
crazy.
it's crazy because I booked a lot of other things. But that was one of the most successful. And I try to, if I do book people, I try to revolve it around that. I want it to be that good. I want it to be where people come out where you know, that we get what the artist was asking for, that we made the deal on to for the tour. We get that, and everyone's happy. There's a crowd for everyone to rock for. Like
Yeah.
that's what I want to happen. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But it doesn't,
Yeah.
because Milwaukee's a very weird place.
Yeah.
As
But
far as a place to do shows.
it makes me think about too, like the thing that we've been talking about, that element on those songs that are like the joints that you can play for people who don't know who the fuck I am. I think that's one of the things that makes shows like that successful, because there's people there who had never seen me play live before.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, people are like, oh, I heard of you because of my homeboy. Like somebody would play them one song and they'd be like, who's this? Oh, he's gonna be here Tuesday night. I'm going. And it's a weird thing because I have people who definitely fuck with me like at that level. They might not know my catalog, but they'll have a song like that that turns them on to me,
Yep.
and it'll be something that they can play for anybody. It's those songs that are kind of like, I'll say they're bigger than underground hip hop in a sense, like every man kind of songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that definitely has helped me touring. In a lot of markets.
Yeah. You definitely have that. So let's play Persevere. And then if you want, we could wrap it up after that, or I could continue. I did have I wanted to play A Hero Dies Once off Two-Headed Monster and then the new single. But if you want to cut it, we could wrap it. But yeah, let's at least play Persevere and
Okay.
we'll come back and then we'll figure it out.
Okay. Dope.
So here it is. Persevere, Blueprint, Pick Apart the Passion podcast. Dope, man. Very dope. I love the end sample as well. On that, I also love that at your live show, the live instrumentation element you added to certain aspects of your show
Thank you.
over the
Thank you.
time. That's super dope. So yeah, what do you want to do, man? Should we wrap it?
Yeah, I
And
probably
let you get about your night.
yeah, I probably
Or
because I got to be to bed in like 20 minutes.
yeah. No,
Unfortunately, I got to get up tomorrow,
I feel you. I feel you.
which is not the norm, but you know.
Yeah. Can I just fit in this one last fan
Yeah,
question?
yeah.
Pablo.
Yeah, we can do some more
Uh,
questions if you want. A couple more questions.
yeah. Pablo, aka DJ Shatter, my dude in New Mexico. He actually wanted to know who's your favorite DJ. He thinks it's Rare Groove, obviously, because you guys work together. But who is your actual favorite DJ? Is that who it is?
My favorite DJ. That's a tough question. I don't think I've ever had a favorite DJ before. See, my favorite DJ. I'm just trying to think of like in terms of records and stuff. Like, okay, in terms of rocking a party and stuff like that, it would definitely Red Groove is probably my favorite guy. He plays records that I feel like Groove plays for me though. Like Groove is my favorite DJ because he kind of is cheating though, because it's like he knows what I like and he just plays it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's kind of cheating. But like out of the DJs I don't know, who do I really enjoy? I mean, it'll probably be between Jazzy Jeff, Z Trip, those guys I find crazy. Producers who can make beats really well and scratching. I mean, obviously like a DJ Shadow or Premier,
Yeah.
those are guys I really dig. But yeah, Rare Groove, he kind of cheated, but he probably wins just because he got the cheat codes. It's like, oh, I know what this fool like. He knows how to make me be like, yeah, that's my favorite DJ. Groove is the best because he always plays what I like.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And yeah, I had a personal question that I wanted to know, just to be
Okay.
fun with it.
Yeah.
Back in your battle days,
Mm-hmm.
right? What's the hardest battle for you?
Back in those days, man, I would say the Scribble Jam battle was hard, but I didn't know shit about. See, here's the thing: when I battled Sage in the final Scribble, that was my first organized battle. I never battled on no clock. I never battled in front of no crowd, and it was like a fucking 1,000 people there. That was kind of weird, but that wasn't necessarily hard. The hardest battle I had was when I battled this dude named Minnie Styles in
Ooh, I
New
didn't
York
even know you
City.
battled many styles. That's crazy.
Yeah.
We actually got to join on my new record together.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
yeah. This was in I think this was in 2001. Rocksteady. We were out there. I was out there with Weightless and Adam's family. We was doing music. Then we went out for a Rhyme Series weekend. And Mikey had done I think it was the end of the week battle. Remember that battle called End of the Week battle? I can't think it was called End of the Week battle that they had out there back then.
Yeah. They still run the end of the week open mics. I actually the last time I was in New York City, I played a showcase at end of the week.
Yeah, that was one. So he did the End of the Week battle earlier that week, and he lost to Minnie Styles, if I remember correctly. So he gets in town on like Thursday, Friday. We meet up there. And I hear this guy's name, and he sounds like this guy must be crazy if he beat Mikey, because me and Mikey used to kind of be battling a lot of dudes back then. And we start ciphering around at the Rocksteady, and it's just like mad people there. And somehow I was just like, it was my first time in New York, and I was just like, mad dudes were whack. And so I just started telling them, like, I started battling all these dudes, random dudes in this cipher. Crushing them, you know what I mean? Me and Mikey crushing them. Mikey's got my back, and then I'm just like killing them. And then I look over my shoulder, and then this dude just kind of comes through the crowd, like parts the crowd, like, and he had this boom box, and it was like, Mikey was like, that's Minnie Styles.
Oh shit,
that's him. I was like, okay. And he came through and he saw what I was doing, and I was just talking shit about everybody in the cipher in New York, and they all being whack, and he just was really not feeling that shit, man. And so me and him started battling. In the first round, he kind of kicked my ass. The first round, because his style was so unorthodox. It was just like pausing and stopping. It was just like, ew. I was like, oh, this guy got me on the first round. Fuck that. And then the more we but I was like, I'm not going out to this guy, because you know how it is when you freestyling, you start to kind of learn what guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I started learning his style, using it against him. You know what I'm saying? And as the battle went on, like the next 2-3 rounds, I just clearly won. And everybody was like, Print got it. Then he and I adapted and hugged up, walked around, kicked it for a little bit, and we was cool after that. It was like respect. But like,
yeah.
That motherfucker was dope. He was so
that's the dude where in New York that's the dude that murdered, I think, Jin.
Oh, word. Yeah, I heard they battled back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had some crazy, just random funny shit. He walked up to Jin, he was like, you're a dick. And then he starts jerking on his arm. He's like, spit. And I was like, what? Who does that?
Yeah. His style was like that though, man. Like, he was hard to beat because there was no pattern to his shit. And he mastered space and pauses really well. Like, he would say shit and kind of pause, and you'd be looking like, is he gonna kick? And he'd just come back, and it's like, oh, this guy is dope with the stutter step. Like,
yeah. He's nice. Shouts to Many Styles. Like I said, he's on my new record. We actually got a video for our joint. So I'm looking forward to dropping that. Maybe I'll send you the link when it comes out. You can check it out.
Please do.
But yes, man. It's been a pleasure to have you on Pick Apart the Passion podcast. This has been Blueprint. This is a dope episode. It's super dope for me because yes, I've worked with you on music. I've done shows with you and stuff like that, but I'm also a fan of what you do. So it's dope to have you on here and talk to you about your journey, your passion behind things and everything like that.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. Let me just do the outro and we'll let you be about your way, man. So
okay, dope.
This has been Pick Apart the Passion podcast with the homie Blueprint. We're up to episode 52 now. Trying to keep moving forward. Yes, this has been brought to you by Cypher Them Music, Jab Kai Media. Shouts to my dude Rambunctious, the creator of Pick Apart the Passion podcast, where it's best to pick apart yourself to get to your passion. And like the words of Rambunctious's father has said, he corrected me last time because I fucked this up. But is it better to be right or kind? So yes, well, we'll leave you with that. Blessing to have you on here, Blueprint. I hope you have a great rest of your evening. I hope people tune in and check this out even after the live. Obviously, I'm gonna grab some clips, throw them out there to the people so they can check it out. But appreciate you, man.
Hell yeah. Send me some clips when you once you grab them, and I'll do my part to spread the word.
Yeah, definitely will, man. You have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, brother. Have a good night.
All right, peace.
All right, peace.